Hey guys, Jeff here. I wanted to share this video with you. It doesn't really fall into any of my playlists, but I was having a conversation online with a colleague of mine. She's out in Oregon, and she was, she's a trainer, and she just started getting involved in working with rescue dogs. So that was kind of the catalyst of initiating a conversation between the two of us, obviously because I've been involved in training and rescue for a long time. So she was asking people to have some conversations with her because she wanted to chat with other people who had a lot of experience working with rescue and shelter dogs. I told her right off the bat, heck, I'd love to talk to her because, obviously I've been training for a long time, and my wife and I have been involved in rescue since 2002. And I know all of my rescue friends, all the time, they tell me the same thing, that the rescue community needs more dog trainers to help them. So I was so happy to see that not only was she, did she start helping out, local rescues in her area, but that she wanted to know more about and speak to others who've, been dealing with rescue dogs for a long time. So I was so excited. I'm like, heck yeah, I'll talk to you. And we bounce around a little bit in this conversation, and it's a little lengthy, but if there's any trainers out there or rescue folks or whoever, it's just an honest, raw conversation. I didn't do any editing, so it's what you see is what you get. Again, it was just an honest and raw conversation between two trainers who, frankly, we've had some similar struggles, for lack of a better word, as far as where we belong on the dog training spectrum. That was kind of the crux of what got us together, but also our personal journeys in dog training. So it's a really cool conversation. I really hope you guys like it. Nikki, it was a pleasure speaking with her, and I'll dump her website down below. She's based in Central Oregon, so if anyone's looking for a trainer in that area, or if there's rescues in that area that are looking for a rescue friendly trainer, this would definitely be a good point of contact for you. So sit back, relax. I hope you enjoy it. Again, I'm not editing this. This is our conversation, exactly how it unfolded, and hopefully it helps out other trainers who, maybe have experienced, what I went through in my career and what Nikki's experiencing now. Again, sharing openly and honestly, with the sole purpose of helping dogs and other people, trainers, rescues, whoever. And I'm always of the mindset that, when you share openly and honestly, it can only help people. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. And don't forget, if you're new to the channel, take a peek around. If you like what you see, consider subscribing to my channel. And if you like this video, give me a thumbs up as well. So enjoy, guys. As soon as I saw that post, I can't tell, because obviously I'm in rescue too. And so many of my rescue friends, they're always saying the same thing, that, they wish there were more trainers that were involved in the rescue community. So I saw that. I was like, I'd be happy to help. So.
Oh, thank you so much. Sorry, my children are texting me. It's the end of school, and they're confused. I'm trying to fix the light. They're confused about the plans. Yeah, so this really just landed in my lap, and I'm super transparent about the fact that I bit off more than I can chew.
That's okay.
And so I literally well, this is either going to make or break my choice to work with dogs.
Right.
So yes, an organization reached out to me, and she pulls from the youth list down in Orange County, California. And I know there's a lot of issues with nonprofits that do that, and that there can be issues, but she's very open with anyone who's interested in these dogs. They have access to all the records. They know about any potential adverse behaviors from the past. They know if there's a bite history. So we're really open about it. Right. And she screens. She's very, very picky in her screening process.
Good. Well, I mean, that's good in general, but even more so dogs that have, a past through sometimes no fault of their own. It's important to be a little stricter in the process, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, so I've been pretty comfortable working with her because of that. And because she's, here's what it is. She's like, these aren't dog park dogs. They're not dogs that you take for a social life. They are companion dogs who love you.
Yeah.
And so, so essentially they're, the original plan was that she was just going to send me a few, and then I had right at that same time, I had a client who basically, or a to-be client, who instead of waiting for me to come work with them, said, we're going to euthanize the dog from one bite. And I said, please, would you consider surrendering the dog to me? And they said, yeah. So I took the dog, and then these other dogs came, and I'm like, oh my gosh. Oh, and then like right the morning before she had them transported to me, she threw another one on, and I was like, oh my gosh. So I was like, okay, I can do this. So part of the big issue has definitely been me. Since this has come on, it has shaken my confidence a lot.
Yeah.
I've also been on this journey of what do I truly believe in dog training and rehabilitation, and what feels right to me versus how I began. And I've kind of come to the conclusion that how I was originally mentored and trained is not for me. So in the middle of this, I've done so much research and so much reading, and I'm, aspiring to do more studying, get some certifications and blah, 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 which means whatever it means. But sorry,
it's okay.
I'll move to another room. That's one of the, they sent me a 130-pound American bulldog with a bite history. He's actually wonderful.
Right.
He's actually a wonderful dog. Turns out he was protecting a child that was in a very bad situation.
Oh, wow.
And anyway, so.
Well, I mean, I know I have a couple of bullet points from your Facebook message. I mean, we can kind of start there, and then just wherever the conversation goes, it goes. You want to do that?
Okay. I don't want to take up all your time.
No, so, I blocked out time, so
thanks.
And I mean, I'm here anyway. Whether it's a message or you need to talk or whatever. So a little bit about me. What you just said about where you're at training wise and stuff. I was introduced in the early '90s, very traditional, and everything that means. Okay.
I need to hear that, because that's kind of how I started.
So then towards the end of the '90s, I was moving all positive.
Okay. That's where I'm going. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I learned that neither is going to work for every dog.
Exactly.
So when I started working with shelters in 2002, that's when I really had to open my mind up. Because I went from one end of the spectrum to the other, like just nothing. Like there was no middle, right?
Okay. Yeah.
But working with all of these dogs with so many different personalities, sometimes multiple times a week. It wasn't like a weekly thing where you don't really get to know a dog. Like, we get to know them, but you really learn that, some dogs you need to be more assertive or authoritative in your approach. Other dogs you need to be more passive and more finesse. So, that's probably where I am today as far as being an operant conditioning trainer and everything that means. I don't, I'm very different. Even when I do use corrections, I'm very different than I was back then. I don't correct dogs to teach them stuff. I really do believe that teaching dogs new behaviors is most effective, and you get the best retention when it's positive reinforcement. But I don't believe that corrections should be demonized either. The problem is that some trainers, the way they correct dogs, that corrections have a bad reputation for a very good reason, because there's some people out there that are, the old break a dog spirit kind of thing and build it. I don't buy into that at all. I mean, even when I first started and I didn't really know what I was doing, that wasn't my intention. I was just doing what I observed and what I thought, but, and then obviously, studying and, learning more about operant conditioning was a huge benefit to me. So right now I consider myself an operant conditioning trainer. I don't believe that there's a one size fits all. I believe that there are so many variables for every single situation that, I mean, now that you're working with like people, trainers, especially, you know, and I mean, I have very good trainers in the force-free community. They never work the dog that literally doesn't have tomorrow.
Right, right.
So don't tell me,
Yes.
trust me, I got the best friggin' treats in the world. I got sausage and turkey jerky that just about any dog will gobble up. But
Right.
sometimes when, you know, when they're in peak state or they're, you know, above threshold and they literally don't, like, some people don't understand, some dogs literally do not have tomorrow.
Right.
And if I can affect some immediate change and build this dog's trust and show some improved behavior, I might be able to buy her or him a little bit of time.
Right.
You know, and I think, and that mindset is a lot different than when I'm working with private clients, because private clients, there is no rush. We don't have to worry about fixing this dog by tomorrow. Like,
Right.
we can do things a little differently. So that's a little bit about me and where I'm at. And I know that you mentioned you were at a crossroads with your training. You know, so now that you mentioned it, it kind of makes sense. But if you want to indulge a little more on that and let me know.
Well, I honestly think you just hit the nail on the head with exactly where I was going. You know, I was initially trained in the, without mentioning any TV names.
It's okay.
So, right. So, and just the guy that worked with me is from LA, you know, and he's really, really loves and believes in pack mentality, which I definitely see a place for packs, for, you know, using a pack to rehabilitate. I definitely see a place for it. But what I've discovered in this process I'm doing now is that I was having tons of guilt and shame about not being able to produce this like Hollywood picture of this pack, of a pack. And I'm like, you know, and so on top of that, I was also doing positive reinforcement training and blah, blah, blah. But there was also confusion for me from the nonprofit, from this woman of, you know, like, what does she want? What's expected? At what point do I say, well, okay, this dog's adoptable, because that is her ultimate goal, is to adopt them out. And so like I basically have just kind of come to the conclusion, every dog's different. There is no one size fits all. And so now, over a while now, I've been basically taking skills from tons of different models and essentially creating a toolbox of, okay, this is what I'm getting from this dog. I think this method will work best for them. This is what I'm getting from this dog. This method should work best for them. And so the more I'm just essentially like, okay, I'm a sponge. Just tell me what, you know, what works, what doesn't work.
Yeah.
And
it's funny.
Go ahead.
I mean, it's funny you bring that up, because that's what I teach my students. I have a whole course on tools, for instance, right?
Oh,
and
perfect.
So when I talk to them about tools, I say, you know, would you rather have 2 screwdrivers, but you need a hammer and you don't have one? Or would you rather have a hammer and not need it? Right? Yeah, and I'm using that obviously for, you know, the pun with corrections. Not that I hammer dogs, but, you know, I'd rather have a very varied, complete toolbox.
Right.
In the event I need certain things. Like, for instance, I hate gentle leaders. That's just me. I can't stand them, mostly because I'm working with dogs with behavioral issues, and sometimes it intensifies their anxiety. But I have a couple of gentle leaders in my bag, because I might have an owner or a dog, because some dogs you slap a gentle leader on and
oh yeah, I know, it's amazing. I mean, for some dogs it really works.
They're few and far between, but it happens. So I'd rather have a gentle leader and not need it than it might be a good tool for a specific situation, and then I don't have one. And you know, so that's just a superficial example, and I didn't mean to chime in on you, but
no, that's fine. It's amazing that we got to connect. I feel like this is exactly where I was going, and I needed someone with more experience to be like, this is okay. I think I needed permission to like be okay.
Let me tell you,
was taking me here, and I didn't have anyone to be like, yes, that's okay to be
Well,
going in that direction.
look at society nowadays. Everything is friggin' shame. If
That's
you
the
have
thing. That's it. It
if you
is.
have a differing point of view, it's like they shame you into
Yeah.
like agreeing with them.
Yeah.
And it's not it's a I mean, obviously the political thing is insane. Social
Right.
media is insane. Dog
Right.
rescue is insane, and the dog training community is just as insane. It's like if you don't believe one way or the other, it's like you're a bad trainer or you're a hack and all this stuff. And I'm like, let me tell you, if I was a hack, okay,
Mhm.
there's no way I'd still be doing this.
Right.
Right? If what I do doesn't work, then I am the luckiest guy in the history of the world.
That's funny.
You
That's
know,
really funny.
all I care about is the dogs. The,
Right.
the four
Right.
legs looking back at me, like they tell me what I'm doing right and wrong.
Yes.
It's really
Yes.
that simple. The human stuff, it's just noise.
It is noise. And I think what happened was right before this landed in my lap, I joined two organizations, one being the one that we met on, and the other one was so positive reinforcement only.
That's where I got my first certification, by the way.
Okay. Okay. I still have to get on there and unsubscribe from the emails that come in, because I'm like, I can't function anymore because I'm feeling so much guilt and shame. And at the same time, I've got like these dogs come in. I'm like, these dogs want to kill each other. And I'm not going to positive reinforce that out of them to get, like, anyways. So what happened is these dogs came in. I started feeling really guilty that essentially I'm just like a slightly more glorified kennel, and it was still causing them stress. And because so I live in Oregon, so it's still very, very cold at night. So they all have to come in at night, and it's in my house. Like, I was not set up properly for this. So I have these extra large crates in my living room and in my bathroom, and I've got 4 kids. And I'm like, this is a madhouse. What am I doing to these dogs? And then I've got some kennels outside. But I have property, I have land, the whole thing's fenced in.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a few sections fenced off.
Right.
And then all surrounding me is land. And so anyways, I hopped onto your YouTube video about decompression. And I haven't gotten to finish it, but just in the first 15 minutes that I watched, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not doing this wrong. I actually was doing it right with the decompression. I didn't just stick him in kennels and crates and be like, okay, we'll just wait for you to chill out. Like, every single day I was getting up at dark 30 and walking each one out in nature and connecting with them and doing some game-based training.
Beautiful.
And then would bring him back, and like, I've had them 3 weeks, and I've unintentionally lost like 10 pounds. Because I've literally been walking and biking them nonstop. And so what kind of really threw me off and shook my confidence was that there's a different trainer that this woman sends dogs to, and he was trained by Caesar and only does that model. That's what he sticks to. And they had put a post on Instagram, and she'd sent him 3 dogs, and 2 of them within 1 week, they were in the pack without muzzles, doing great. And I was like, what am I doing wrong? These dogs they can't go near each other yet. They want to kill each other. I mean, they're like so dog aggressive. And so it really shook me. But then I started, like what we just talked about, I've done a ton of soul searching and like cognitive searching in the world of dog training. I'm like, no, it's not a one size fits all. And I have to come to a place of being okay with that. And so what's been a huge confidence boost just in the last, since we've connected, was finding out that I was decompressing them mostly the correct way, getting them on a routine and schedule, and starting to interact. And so I would say of the 5, so I have 4 dogs are mine, 5 are here to eventually be adopted. All 5 of them I have a good bonded relationship with now. I don't necessarily trust all of them completely, but I have one that couldn't engage at all. He was so intense. I'm like, oh my gosh, this dog should be like on like a drug sniffer. I mean, he's so intense, right? And finally I was able to get engagement out of him. And so since then, he and I've been doing much better. But anyways, so, and I will continue, I will watch the rest of your video, because just in those first 15 minutes, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so informative. So I guess for me, I'm at the point of like, every dog's different. How much time do I like spend with these dogs? The one good thing about the woman I'm working with is she's not in a rush. She does like to pull as many dogs as she can, but she's sending them out to trainers all over the place.
Right.
And so I don't necessarily feel a pressure to get them out the door.
Right.
Which is good. But this guy that she's sending them to, who only does it Caesar's way, his whole thing is they have to be able to socialize. And I'm feeling like yes and no on that one. Some of these dogs, I don't believe I'll ever be able to get them social enough to the point where I'd be like, hey, take him to the dog park, you know? So I guess I'm trying to figure out, like, what is my goal is for each dog? Is my goal to make it so that someone who wants to put in the time and energy and effort and love and care for the dog has a dog that can at the very least follow obedience training and has an ability to build a bond with them, but they have to know that there's a possibility that the dog may have to be on a muzzle when it goes on a walk. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, there's so many layers to it. There really is. It's kind of like there's not one size fits all. With this other trainer, right? It's his environment. Mm-hmm. It's his controlled environment.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's just say you have one dog in your house, mm-hmm. and you're just working that one dog, and you're working him for a few weeks or a month, and everything's going well. There's no leash reactivity. He's really obedient, really great around the house. Okay. Mm-hmm. That does not translate to whoever adopts him.
Exactly.
It doesn't.
I forgot to mention, and I know this still applies. I forgot to mention that part of the adoption is that they get 3 sessions with me, because they're being adopted out in my area, the ones that I get.
Yep.
And so, and the ones that aren't adopted in my area can still do sessions with me online before the dog arrives to do a setup to talk about it. So it's not a total just adopt and go, that we are doing some integration and some work, but still, nonetheless, you can't force the bond time. You can't there's still all these factors that apply.
Yeah, and especially with dog behavior,
right.
I tell everyone, environment is such a huge variable in dog behavior. I mean, how many times over the years, you probably have heard it already, where a shelter dog is just a friggin' lunatic in the shelter, but then it gets adopted and it's like the best dog in the world because that stress is removed. And then you have other dogs who they were really sweet and chill in the shelter, but then they're in a home environment and they're friggin' lunatics.
Right. Okay.
So environment is it's such a huge component to behavior, which is what, and what I got to do too is let me make a note of that. I want to send you, I told you I do the low cost enrichment. I work with about 25 rescues along the East Coast.
Oh, wow.
I'm going to send you, I'll send you the info. It's the contract and the FAQ that I share with rescues that send dogs here. There's a lot of good information in there that will help you. And one of them being is, if I get it's a low cost enrichment program. It's not a boot camp. It's not 2 weeks and, they're fully trained. It's right. It's an enrichment and a foundation program. That's what it is, because that's what most rescue dogs need. They need a foundation. And
Right.
so when they are adopted, they have a foundation, and I do exit videos when they leave. So wherever they get fostered or adopted, the foster or the adopter actually has my video, and they can continue what I'm doing.
Oh,
Right?
that's so great.
And
That's such a good idea.
I mean, as you know, it doesn't beat in person, because nothing beats in person. But
Right.
I mean, that's the next best thing for them, to have tangible evidence, and they're seeing me doing what I'm doing. I'm explaining the dog's personality, because a lot of times we know the dogs better than anyone. So I'll be sure to share that with you. And I am bringing it up only because one of your other bullet points, you were talking about when you deem a dog adoptable, right? So my wife and I, we also have our own small pit bull rescue. So I do not tell rescues when their dog is adoptable. That's not my place. I tell them all the time, I provide you with information because all of the rescues I deal with, they all have little things that, as far as adoptability goes, you know, like some rescues, they won't adopt out animal aggressive dogs. Like, you know, I'm a pit bull guy. Like, I mean, I'd never adopt a dog out if I didn't adopt, you know what I mean? So each rescue, they have their own definition of adoptability. So I tell them that, you know, I will provide them with information, and it's their responsibility to who they place that dog with. You can't, it's not your rescue. It's not your your responsibility is training and providing information to them, right? I mean, because you have are you vetting all the people that they adopt dogs out to?
The ones in my area, they contact the rescue. She does the screening first.
Right.
If she feels like they might be a fit, she lets me know, and then we'll do a meet and greet. I'll see where where the dog would be going, and then and we'll set up the 3 training sessions, or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Yeah, so I mean, it's because it's not your organization. You're
No,
not. So
Mhm.
you know that big. You know, I mean, it's physically and emotionally challenging as it is working with a lot of dogs every day.
Yes.
I have a light month right now. March is a light month for me, and I have 7 dogs here.
Wow. Okay.
Not including mine. So
Right.
you know,
And do you have help employees? Do you have helpers?
I'm bad with that. I just don't trust anyone
No, I totally get that.
to work the
I get
dogs.
Well, yeah, no, I get that. I just mean, like, what's been really overwhelming is well, that it just happened so fast, and I don't have the best setup, and it's an okay setup, but it's not, you know, I don't have a temperature controlled building.
Okay.
And that, you know, and I'm a single mom of 4 kids. So,
well, you know, and you're in a unique situation in that, you know, the rescue might be able to provide volunteers to walk them.
So I'm in Oregon, they're in California. I actually have reached out, and I am getting some volunteers, and I've got waivers and the whole thing.
Oh, good. Okay.
So far, the people that have come through my door to volunteer are very dog savvy.
Good.
And so I go out with them. I say, this is how I want a walk to look like, what, you know, and whatnot. And some of them have been so good that I've been like, can you help me? I want to socialize these 2. I'm going to put them on muzzles and harnesses, and, you know, and it's been okay. But as with volunteer life, people don't, you know, they come and they go, and I get it, because life is what, time and money, and you know,
sure.
I get it. So I am trying to get more help. As we have gotten a flow with the dogs and a schedule, and you know, my kids do help. My teenager's super, he's like, whatever, it doesn't shake him if a dog gets loose, and dogs don't, sorry, dogs don't get loose, but you know, if at this point, like, we don't have them together, but there have been a few times where something has happened, and you know, 2 dogs have gotten in a fight, and he's been able to help me. anyways, so we do have a flow going, and that helps a lot.
Right.
And I'm trying to get more volunteers. I'll take anything, and that helps. As far as like the training and working the dogs goes, I want to do that all myself.
Right.
I totally get that. But yeah, I'm in a point where I'm like, oh my gosh, if I could just have someone come walk the dogs that I know are like fine to just take out and walk. And especially since I'm so rural, I have that advantage
Yeah, sure.
that
Yeah.
there's, acres
You're,
and acres of open land. And, I said, just make sure you can see around you everywhere, keep them on the leash, but walk them through the woods, like we're walking through the sagebrush or whatever.
right. Right.
Anyways, so I am trying to work on just getting some more help because I still have to manage. I still have my kids.
Yeah.
We've kind of gotten ignored the last 3 weeks. um Anyways, that really, really helps to know about like the adoption piece. Yes. So far it has been like she puts the posts up and we do that whole vetting process, and that's kind of how it has been. So I haven't really had to make that call of like, well, this one's adoptable and this one's not ready or whatever.
Yeah.
I just provide information.
I mean, I make recommendations as to what type of home I see the dog in.
Okay.
Like my rescue just pulled the dog from the local shelter, and he's sweet as pie. He's such a sweetheart. I wouldn't place him with small children, not
Right.
because he's aggressive, because he's a brick shithouse. Like, and he's very young. And obviously we just pulled him, and I'm working with him, but I mean, he's like a dog day Bordeaux pit mix, so he's got a lot of beef behind him, so that would be my rescue. Like I would adopt. That's my rescues. It's me and my wife. We make the policies, right? So other rescues might not place a dog like that in certain homes. But I will tell rescues, look, this dog, and it's even in my contract that if I get an animal aggressive dog here, I'm not saying he's going to be a dog park dog, but I promise you that he will be able to at least walk in public in the presence of other dogs. As you know, some of these dogs are really intense. They have no social skills.
Yeah.
And again, I don't do boot camp stuff. I do foundation stuff. So, and everything I do, it's not about me. It's about the dog and whoever's going to wind up handling this dog. I need to make sure that I'm putting them in a position to succeed after the dog leaves me. So that's another reason why I'll use a variety of tools too. Because I have to make sure that I don't know always where a dog is going. I can't recommend a tool that I don't know what the hell they're going to be doing with it. You know what I mean? But I will suggest to rescues what type of home environment I see. And there's times I'm a huge proponent of walking. I mean, I think anytime a dog gets to me, the first thing I do is we go for a walk. I don't give a shit if that dog's yanking me all over the place.
Yes.
We're walking and we're walking and we're walking.
Movement.
And I've had dogs that I'll tell a rescuer, like, look, because I'm not a fan of like dogs being just yard dogs.
Right.
But there's been times where I'll be like, you know what? If you could find someone with a big yard and they're kind of homebodies, that's what kind of home this dog needs.
Yeah.
They're not going to be social.
Now, that's exactly it.
Right. And, because when we're working with, like, if I'm working with a private client, right? Like, I hate to say it this way, but like whatever dog I'm working, that's my product, right? Yeah. So I want to do a good job. When I'm training for rescues, I got nothing to do with it. I have to do what's in that dog's best interest. And if someone says, oh, Jeff recommended this dog be a yard dog only, I'm okay with that, because that's what's putting that dog in the best position to succeed, to get adopted, and to stay adopted, right? Because that's why I do the low cost with rescues. It's not about me, it's about the dog,
Yeah, I do very low cost also. We have like a whole deal worked out.
Yeah. So I mean, and training a rescue dog and preparing them for adoption is much different than training a private client.
Oh yeah, completely.
Our mindset, our goals, everything is different.
And I think that's what shook me. I was like, oh my gosh, like I've worked, like I have no problem working with aggressive dogs. That's fine. But going from teaching the skills to the owner and they have to put all the work in.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I've done the work to all of a sudden like having all these dogs in my home and in my space, and they're coming out of kennels. I was like, whoa, you know, that luckily, I guess just by intuition, I just ended up doing the right thing to help them decompress from kennel stress.
Yeah.
But now I have more information.
Yeah.
But
What kind of crates are you using?
so I have them in the all wire ones.
Okay.
I know there's like debate on that. I have them all in the large. I mean, if I'm totally open to hearing feedback.
Yeah, I just, the nature of the dogs that come to me, I can't afford to have a dog bust out. So I have the gorilla cages.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're the steel ones. And I the way my house is set up, I have three different boarding areas. So
Okay.
off my kitchen, downstairs is my garage. It's my gym is in there, and I have 4 gorilla cages.
Okay.
So in my garage, that's where the training dogs go. So whatever dogs are here for training, they go in the garage because it's right off my kitchen. It's because I have to, obviously I'm interacting with them a lot more. And then I have dogs that are here boarding only. Sometimes rescues they'd rather send them here with me than a actual boarding facility. And so I have an outdoor barn that's insulated, has heat, electric. I have 4 kennels in there. And then my rescue for our dogs, we have a 3 indoor outdoor building, also has electric run to it. So those are like my 3 areas. But my rescue, the indoor outdoor kennels, it's just an indoor outdoor kennel building. But the barn, there's gorilla cage in each corner. The garage, there's gorilla cages in line, but I have dividers between them so the dogs can't get to each other. Because I don't like having cages facing each other in case there's any visual conflict.
Right. You know, locking eyes.
Right.
I have them side by side, and I started them all with barriers so they could not see each other.
Mm-hmm.
And then so like I have 2 that are now next to each other with no barrier.
Good.
And they are happy to be next to each other.
Nice.
Getting them together to play is a whole nother story. Once they try, or just to socialize, they can sniff each other. The whole thing has to be controlled. They're both on harnesses, leashes, and a muzzle, because one of them, the second he starts to lock eyes, he's done.
Right.
And the other one gets too aroused and is just woo, he gets up there, but next to each other in the crates, they do great.
Mm-hmm.
The other one he still has a blanket barrier, and so my idea was that I have them lined up and I have a barrier so that they can smell each other, but they can't see each other. Mm-hmm. And so far that's worked pretty well. All the ones I have right now they're all dog aggressive. They're not human aggressive. They're wonderful with me. They're wonderful with the kids. Obviously, I'm very, very careful about that. The kids don't just like go play with them, but I'm careful about introductions. I mean, they're all going to make great loyal companion dogs at this point. Yeah. It's the dog to dog aggression that is, oh my gosh. Yeah. And so part of me was feeling this kind of guilt of like, I have to teach these dogs how to be able to be in a yard together, or they won't ever be good enough. And now I'm feeling like, okay, no, that is not my ultimate goal, or that should not necessarily be my ultimate goal.
Yeah, and I mean, you need to have individual goals for individual dogs.
Right.
Like let's say you have 2 of these dogs now that maybe you could start walking them together in closer proximity to each other.
Yeah, we're doing that.
Maybe you can, you said you have a fenced in yard. I mean, you could do walking in an enclosed yard, but And let's say you keep doing that and you progress to the point where maybe you can get them off leash, or maybe you have a test dog that you could help the dogs using your test dog.
I do have, so of my 4 dogs, I have one that is the most amazing, balanced. He's perfect. And every single one of these dog aggressive dogs can be with him one-on-one. He's phenomenal.
Right.
But then I have another dog who's her way of solving problems would be to just take them all down to the ground. And so she so she's like in her own space now, and I kind of feel bad because the guy who kind of originally got me into this, I was talking to him, he's like, well, that's sort of like taking an unruly child and sticking them in the corner with an iPad and saying, leave us all alone. And so I started to feel really bad about that. But then I'm observing her and I'm like, but she's so calm. She has this space over here. She still gets time and attention from me. She still gets walks. She still does her thing. And she's watching me work with these more aggressive dogs. And if I get too close, yeah, she'll come to the fence. She might bark, but it actually helps. There's 2 of the dogs I've been able, while my Bella is kind of bringing that energy up and barking and doing her thing, I've been able to just positive reinforce these other 2 dogs to the point where we've been able to get all the way up to the fence and not have them react to her. So I am using her to help me just in a different way. Whereas my Great Pyrenees is there to just teach them to like, hey, it's all good. Like we're just calm, and they can be in person with him. So I feel like, you know what, I feel like they both have a job. They're both helping me just in totally different ways.
Yeah.
But yes, I'm at the point where all of the dogs can at least walk with another dog. It might be my dog or what, but they can at least walk with one dog at this point. It might be a little further apart, might be closer together, but them physically interacting and playing, I'm just not at a point where I feel like I can let them off a leash or even put on a long lead.
Yeah. And some people would criticize you. That's the responsible thing because they're not ready yet.
Trying to be safe.
What, I mean, to me, that's common sense. Like, oh my God, you're literally practicing common sense, Nikki.
Okay, thank you. Because I'm like, why am I feeling so guilty about this? Like, why? Okay, and that I'm like, okay, thank you for telling me that, because
I mean, that's why I actually have it in my contract. Look, I may be able to get your dog because I mean it's a short period of time they're here, right? I mean, if I had an extended period of time, yeah, but I usually have, my male and my female pit, I could usually match them up with somebody, right? I have a little Shih Tzu. I have other dogs here that are, that I always have some dog here. Like actually, sometimes just now I had a private client come to my house because they have a bull terrier that they were working, and we used a bunch of our dogs to help him with his leash reactivity. And then I got one asshole here that I saved till the last because I knew that dog would go off on this bull terrier.
Yeah.
But I put everybody in a position to succeed first, and then I saved the asshole till last.
Yeah, that's my Bella. I'm like, for lack of a better term, she's such a bitch.
Yeah,
she's such a bitch. She's like, I will take you down, and she will. That's the thing, is like, I can muzzle her and muzzle another dog. She will hands down 100% every time. She will win and get them to submit. And I'm just like, not the healthiest method. So we're,
But we're trying to find a balance too. So like, part of our balance as trainers and rehabbing rescue dogs is we need to bombard them with a lot of good, successful, repetitive situations, but we also need to challenge them too, right? We need to expose them to real life situations. Like,
thank you.
A real life situation is you're walking down the street and all of a sudden there's this friggin' little rat terrier growling, lunging, and like they need to be able to cope with that. And that's part of our responsibility is, again, they don't have to be like street fair or festival dogs, but they do need to behave appropriately in public.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Because that has been my goal. And then when I got this not feedback, but just was hearing that this other trainer whole goal was socialization, but from in a pack. I was like, but there's so much missing from that, because you're probably going to adopt this dog out to someone who doesn't have a dog, or maybe only has one other. And if they want to walk the dog down the street, there's no, I mean, to me, it was, I need to teach these dogs to be functional in the real world, even if they're not Lassie, they just, need to be functional.
Yeah. Yeah. The big downside to that is, right, these places, right, and I just don't have that setup here. And I mean,
Right.
I guess if I did and I had time and money, I might get a whole bunch of dogs and
Right.
keep them as my own. The problem is that these dogs that are getting rehabbed are going into this stable unit.
Yes.
So
Very controlled environment.
Very controlled. I have crates. It's a kenneled environment, very controlled, right? But that environment, that might tell people, oh, I could have my dog off leash in any situation.
Right.
Now, what if this was a bait dog or a dog that was fought? Okay, and this guy, let's call him Bob, in Bob's backyard with his stable pack, this dog learned very quickly that it ain't gonna happen, right? Well, now, Fido gets adopted by Jane Doe, and Jane Doe saw all these wonderful videos, and she goes right to the dog park, and that dog resorts to old behavior. Because it's a new situation, new environment, new dog. I mean, you've seen dog parks, they're a shit show. I mean, half the dogs there don't belong there.
I know. And in our area, oh my gosh, it is like, you might as well be talking about politics when it comes.
Seriously.
There's so many dog parks. This is a dog community, and a lot of them are, oh my gosh, it's, people get so sensitive about, I get it.
But yeah, my job is not to provide false hope for these dogs. My job is to put them in the best position to get adopted and stay adopted.
Yes.
And you even, when you messaged me, you said, and you even mentioned it earlier about being transparent. Again, it has nothing to do with me when I'm working with rescue dogs. It's all about the dog. If it's not, as the day it's not about the dog, I better go find another job.
Right.
And I'm doing this a long time, and I still feel that way.
Okay.
That,
oh my gosh, I can't, the level of validation I'm feeling right now, I can't even. I was like, I think I might quit, because first of all, there's some forums that I will be getting off of like immediately, because that is not healthy.
I used to be a little more sensitive. I mean, I always had a little bit of a thick skin, but I my wife and I, especially being in rescue so long, we've been through so many like situations and cases where it's like, we just don't give a shit what anybody says anymore.
Right. I'll get there one day. I'll get there one day.
Like,
I'm still newbie enough to be like,
Most of us are good people, and we just want to help dogs. Like, even some people who are really overly critical, they're probably just good people, and their intentions are pure. Their delivery sucks, but
Right. Exactly.
So
let me ask you this. I have to head out soon to pick up from school. So you have a toolbox. You have years of training of all different methods, and you have your own curriculum, it sounds like.
I have my own dog training school too. Yeah.
Oh, you do?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is it only in person?
It's actually only online.
Oh, is it? Fabulous.
Yeah. I could send you some info. Yeah.
Okay. I'm like, I will definitely be looking at your.
Sure. Yeah. Tool wise, actually just recently I used a metal prong collar for the first time in a very long time.
Really?
And it was more out of assessment purposes to see how a dog would respond to it, more so than it was anything else. I do use the Star Mark collar a lot, which is that's the plastic prong. Have you ever seen them?
Yeah, I've seen them. I've never used it.
Yeah, so and the reason why I'll recommend these sometimes is because they're a little more forgiving than other tools, and a lot of the rescue dogs I work with are flight risks. So they
Okay.
ain't
Right.
getting out of that.
Right.
You know, but you know, I'll use whatever tools, but mostly, you know, martingales, slip leads, storm
Right.
collars,
Oh, that's
gentle leaders once in a while, but you know, harnesses, backpacks. I love backpacks for dogs that need a job.
good job. I know. Yeah. It's
Um,
so
I
like a
use
harness.
I use
Yeah.
e-collars, but I don't use e-collars in the traditional sense. I sometimes I get deaf and blind dogs here, so when I'm doing once I get the dog off leash in my yard and they know the perimeter of my yard, I will introduce them to the tone or the vibrate option just for communication off leash.
Yes.
So that's another tool that I have that I don't use that often, but you know.
Yeah.
I mean, put it this way, by the next time I get a deaf or blind dog here, I'm going to need to replace the batteries in the e-collar because I don't use it. But I have it in case I need it, right?
Okay.
Because like inside, if I'm working, you know, a deaf dog, for instance, I could stomp on my hardwood floor for a cue. I can't do that outside when the dog is, you know, 80 feet away. So, you know, and that's just a superficial example of just having a varied toolbox at my disposal.
No, that's great. I love that. And as far as like your toolbox with methods go, it sounds like you tend to do more work on the positive reinforcement side, knowing and proper corrections.
Yeah, I'm a OC quadrant guy, operant conditioning quadrant. So that's, I mean, people who know what that means know what that means. So obviously, you know, the average person, I have to explain to them what that means. I mean, if they hear positive punishment, they think I'm beating the shit out of a dog. So I got to explain to them what exactly that means. You know, I know force-free trainers that use positive punishment and they don't admit to it.
I know.
It blows my mind. I'm like, dude, that is the very definition of positive punishment.
Positive punishment. I know. And I'm one of those too that I love the operant quadrants, and you know, okay, great.
It's fun. But yeah, so I mean, I obviously I do a lot of positive reinforcement because I'm teaching these dogs a lot of new obedience behaviors. So again, the best way to hit that home is, you know, positive reinforcement. But with the reactivity issues, you know, when I'm working a dog in and out of threshold or above and under threshold, whichever phrase you prefer, you know, I tend to go fast. So I'm not one to work outside threshold for 3 weeks. I cross it. Let's get it over with.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, no, that's more my method too. I get impatient with like, let's sit here and train in the green zone for, you know, ever and ever, and then maybe we'll try the yellow zone. I'm definitely like,
and you know, and sometimes I'll cross threshold and the dog is telling me I'm not ready for this yet. So I'm not going to force the dog. I do want to test the dog and present them with opportunities to get better. But if they're like overly stressed, then that does the dog no good. So I will back off, you know. It's all about intuition too. I mean, it's not just about the science of conditioning. There's a lot of intuition and trusting and, you know, the energy behind it. Like we don't like, a lot of dog trainers don't like to talk about it, but most of us, we have to have some level of intuitiveness to us. If we don't, we're gonna miss out on a lot of shit.
Well, if you don't have it, like you're gonna miss a lot of body language cues. You know, or like I can feel the energy of a dog who's ready to snap before it snaps. You know, and I'm like, oh, it's coming. I can feel it. You know.
And that's why corrections have such a bad reputation, because most people who are utilizing corrections, they're correcting overt behavior. If we're correcting shifts in body posture, we don't need we just need a little pop on the leash, right?
Right.
We don't need, now granted it varies by dog, but if we're correcting poor shifts in body language, we are literally correcting the thoughts.
Right.
The overt behavior just organically will get better.
Right.
So, you know.
Okay.
I know you got to run. I'll keep rambling. So
well, I'm like, gosh, we could talk all day, because I'm like, apparently I
doing a lot more right than I thought.
You're doing what's right for you. That's
I
not wrong.
for each dog.
Right, yeah.
But I needed like a foundation first to be
Yeah.
like, this is where I stand. This is what I
Right.
believe in. And I kind of just needed someone who's had tons of experience to like give me permission to be like, this is where you are and that's okay. And that's exactly what you did.
Yeah. Even when I was yanking the shit out of dogs in 1992,
right,
that's where I needed to be.
You learned.
I needed to learn that's not where I want to be.
Right, right.
I had to go through 100% positive because I had to learn that's not where I want to be.
It didn't take me long to be like, no, that's not going to work for me.
You know, but
I have a lot of patience, but I've got my limits.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, like if I'm off or I'm having a shit day, the dogs tell me.
Right.
The dogs always tell me where I need to be.
Right, right.
They never lie.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. You've literally like just changed everything.
No, I'm gonna send you the link to my contract and the info that I send to rescues. It's a private link. I don't share it publicly because I don't do boarding and training for the public. I only do it for rescues.
Yeah, me too. Actually, I'm not.
Yeah, I don't. And you're welcome to use the contract and change the words or whatever.
Thank you.
But that might be helpful for you too. Okay.
That'll be very helpful. I will look at, if you haven't already, please resend me your website. I'd like to look at your curriculum and your what you do. And then I'll start watching more YouTube channel, your YouTube stuff. Cause boy, just that I was like, whoa, this is so packed with exactly.
I mean, my 7-day dog care challenge is literally what I do with dogs here for my enrichment program.
Oh, fantastic. Then that's what I want to do.
It's what I recommend to people, but that's the crux of their enrichment.
Okay.
Obviously the training is extra, but I'll send you that. I'll send you the website too.
Thank you. I thank you for you've made a huge impact on my life today.
Well, I'm here. I'll send you my cell phone too. So if you need to talk or whatever.
Okay.
And thank you for helping the rescue community. Seriously.
Oh, thank you. Boy, it's sure interesting.
Yeah. Hold on tight.
I know. I'm like, oh my gosh. But you know what? It's being able to say that you did save a life and see a better outcome.
Yep.
I'm like,
no better reward.
You can't change the feeling that comes with that, you know? So I totally get it. So thank you so much. I really appreciate your time.
No problem. It's good chatting.
Okay. All right. Bye, Jack.